Wow. 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 Here's Moses. Moses has a very colorful life. And Moses has a lot of things before him. Moses has so much laid at his feet, so many things that he can do, so many possibilities. He's got the education of the Egyptians, which is science and math. He's got the leadership training. He comes in from a very bad set of circumstances. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But all this stuff, and we see that Moses has some choices to make in all this because, hey, listen, let me ask you a question. When the time was right, remember, your potential will either be drawn out by need or pushed out by circumstance. I can't say that enough. Your potential, your effectiveness will either be drawn out by need or pushed out by circumstance. Now, God knew that Moses had a hard head. God knew that Moses had been trained in all these things, and Moses needed to learn some more stuff. So instead of just having a king's heart, he needed a shepherd's heart. So God allowed all the circumstances, watch this, to push out his potential. He saw the need and drew it out, but God saw it and pushed it out, and he wound up in the desert, and he wound up as a shepherd for 40 years. And when God said, okay, now you're getting it, he sees the burning bush. Now, let me tell you something. Every day to your life, God shows you a burning bush. Every day. It's not necessarily the same one every day. It could be, it's like the manna from heaven. You gathered a pot in the morning, you didn't gather one for the next day because it would rot. And his mercies are new and fresh every day. So there's many times, there is those burning bush experiences that'll last for a lifetime, but every day God shows us a burning bush. You know, I was thinking about yesterday. I kept running into people. And I was trying not to run into anybody. I was trying just to mind my own business and go do what I had to do and get back and get ready for today. And every time I turn around, somebody would run up on me and we get talking and they would start telling me things, and then the Holy Spirit would start telling me things, and I'd say, okay, God, this is why I'm here. Because when I first saw them, I'm thinking, God, I really need to get home. And then this would happen. And then I'd see this person. And when I see this person, all of a sudden God would start speaking to me. And next thing I know, I was ministering to this person in any kind of way, many different kind of ways, but I was ministering to these people, not realizing I was looking at, all day yesterday, I bet I saw 10 burning bushes. If the truth be known, everybody in here yesterday saw at least one burning bush, if not more. The burning bush is something special because the burning bush, it was burning, but it was not consumed. And I'll talk about the burning bush later. But the burning bush was there to get Moses' attention so Moses could talk to God and hear what God had to say. God had a need for him to feel, and so he had this burning bush. But you know, my question is, do you want to stand before burning bushes or dry roots? You see, I know a lot of people, they would rather see the root. You know why they'd rather see the root? Because if I see the root, then I've got nothing I have to do. If I see the root, I don't have to get involved. If I see the old dried up root, I can complain. If I see the old dried up root, I can just go about my business and just mind my own business. But God called not one person in here to mind your own business. That's not a preview for you to find and read that person's cell phone that are looking on. That's not what I'm talking about. God's called all of us to make a difference in people's lives. God's called us all to be champions for people that cannot take care of themselves. God has called us all to make a difference in somebody's life. So again, are you going to look for a burning bush? Or are you going to look for dried roots? If you look for a burning bush, your life will be exciting. Yes, it'll be challenging, and yes, you'll be tired, and yes, there'll be times you just want to run away and pull all your hair out. But if you're in front of dried roots, you're going to be bored, slammed to death, and Satan loves for a Christian to be bored. Because if we're bored, then he gets us into the argumentative stage, he gets into the complaining stage, he gets us where nobody's doing it right, everybody's doing it wrong, blah, 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 blah. God wants about Hebrews chapter 11. So if you're looking at Hebrews chapter 11, there's Moses standing out there in front of Egypt. If we look at Hebrews chapter 11, it's called God's Hall of Fame of Faith. And there's a reason why. You know, I used to look at the Hall of Fame of Faith and think, man, I wish I could live like that. I wish I had that kind of power. And then as I started reading about the people in their lives, versus one little short verse about them, I realized they weren't supermen. They weren't superwomen. Abraham lied. Abraham talked about, said Sarah was his sister. Abraham tried to do it on his own. He wanted to get to Ishmael when he should have had Isaac because he let his wife talk him in to a different way to bring God's promise forth, go through the flesh versus going through the spirit. There's all kinds of stuff in the Bible, but if you look in there, we will forget, just by these little verses, that these people were ordinary people. They were the Jones. They were the Smiths. They were simple. Yes, God called them. They were, listen. God didn't call supermen to do super work. Well, I'd love to be able to pull back and show my big old S on my chest. But I don't have one. I'd love to put on my hat and be like Iron Man and run all through here, but I don't have one. We all love superheroes. But you know what? God called every one of us to be a superhero for somebody else. Remember, if you look at the heroes of faith, if you read just those little bitty excerpts about these people, you think, there's no way I can live that way. But if you look at their lives, you'll see God took their junk and made something special out of it. God took their mess and made a message. That's a cliche, but he took their mess and made a message. He took their test and made them testimonies. So remember, we often forget these are ordinary people who accomplished extraordinary achievements. God had something very special in order to use these people. He had to let them hold on and get out of the way at the same time. There's a good one. Hold on and get out of the way. Y'all watch the Three Stooges every now and then? They all sleeping on the bed in the train, and Moses, not Moses, Mo, which I think is short for Moses. Mo slapped him and said, y'all wake up and go to sleep. Or remind me to kill you later. Doesn't make sense. What I'm saying right now doesn't make sense. You have to learn to hold on and get out of the way at the same time if you want to let God use you in a special way. So now watch this. There's several things they had in common. And thank God for it! They weren't perfect. They often failed, but they all reached their goal. How many here is perfect? Raise your hand. Do not point at somebody. How many in here often fail? Hands should go up all over the place. See, God, that's the formula God likes to use. He likes somebody that realizes they're not perfect. The day and time you think you're perfect, God will back away. You know why? Because when you think you're perfect, pride cometh before the fall. And so I realize I'm imperfect and I'm a clay vessel that God chooses to put His power in, wow, something good can happen. Not only that, when somebody who knows me sees God use me, knowing, you got to be kidding, David Linton? God's using David? Well, I went to school with him. Or I used to hang with him. Or I saw him the other day. I saw him the other day when he got upset in the checkout line. I know none of y'all do that. But they all reached their goal. Why? Here's why. Because they came to a pivotal point in their life. Although it does not say the rest of them have a burning bush experience, it is a burning bush experience. Although it does not actually tell you every last one of these guys in the Hall of Faith had a burning bush specifically, but Moses, they all had a burning bush theoretically. And everybody in here, you have burning bushes, like I said before, every day to your life. And my question is, what are you going to do? You see, let's talk about Moses. Here's Moses. See, when they had that decision, at that point, they made the right decisions. Once they had this critical point in their life, they made the right decisions. And so, when they made the right decisions, God used them. So watch this. Moses is no different. Because watch this. He definitely was not perfect. You think, well, you see Charlton Heston, think Charlton Heston seems in it, the Red Sea, and think, oh, Moses was without flaw? No. Why did he not go in the promised land? I'll give you a little secret, don't tell everybody. He had a temper. How many knew that? So what happened? When God told him to speak to the rock, he got mad and hid it. Come on. That's right, he didn't obey. But he let his temper get, and it says he's the meekest man on the earth. But he got mad. Y'all want water? I need your water. Here, take your water. And God says, hey, dude, you ain't going to the promised land. But I carried him through 40 years. He said, I don't care. You're not taking him in. You take your little temper self over there. I'll take care of you later. Go pick the switch, Moses. So watch this. Moses, one of the greatest leaders that ever lived, was not perfect. He experienced failure, but he reached his goal. His goal was to get the people to the promised land. That's where they were when God took him home. So see, what's this? But in order for God to use Moses and to others, he had to settle 4 basic life questions. And I want you right now, I want you to think about this. I'm only going to do 2 questions today. I want you to think about this. In order for God to use us effectively in his service. Now remember, God can use us effectively only if we answer these questions. And I want everybody today, if you're taking notes, write it down. And as the Holy Spirit speaks to you, I want you to write down what he's telling you when these questions start coming out. All right? So now here